If you're going out on the trails, you're probably going to get stuck at some point, and for that, you're going to want some recovery gear. Everything you see around me is stuff that I take with me, and I'm going to put links to all of this stuff in the description. You're going to want to invest in some of this. You do not want to get stuck and have to call out a tow truck, because that's going to be really, really expensive. If you are just getting into overlanding, don't feel as though you have to go out and buy all of the things. I'm going to give you a few of the bare essentials, a few of the bare minimums that I take with me, but you can always go out with someone else, someone who's more experienced. You can see what they use, what they have, and definitely watch some videos on YouTube. I'm just going over the gear that I take with me. I'm not going to tell you how to use it. Check out some of the other videos like from Ronnie Dahl. He does some great recovery instructional videos, so check those out. If you're going to go to one of the expos like Expo East, Expo West, they have some instructional classes as well. Make sure you know how to use this before you need to use it. When it comes to buying overlanding equipment, there are some things you can cheap out on, but recovery gear, generally speaking, is not one of those things. You want to make sure that you're getting something that is rated for a certain weight and that is going to be from a quality manufacturer. And also, when you're buying these things, you want to get something that's going to be rated for around 2 to 3 times, minimum 2 to 3 times the weight of your vehicle, fully loaded. Strapping traction boards to the outside of your vehicle is how you let everyone know that you're an overlander, but they are actually pretty effective at recovery as well, especially in sand and in clay. Traction boards are really good if you're stuck somewhere and you've got your wheels spinning and you're just not moving forward. You can lay them down, it just gives them something to grip onto. If you look at the ones I've got behind me, you've got these ridges along the top and then all these knobs down it, so it just gives something for the grip of the tire to catch onto, just to get you rolling forward so you can try and build up some momentum to get over whatever you're stuck on or in. You can also use them, and I've used them several times on really slick trails where you find yourself sliding one way or another, but you want to be approaching at a certain angle. You just lay them down. It's kind of like paving a little road ahead of you. And finally, I've used them a few times just for bridging up or over something. When it comes to brands, MaxTrax are probably the best known, and they really set the standard for traction boards. They are one of the originals. They are definitely the best designed, the most durable. However, they are also incredibly expensive. And if you've got a limited budget, let's say you can only afford to buy one set of MaxTrax and it would sacrifice getting any other recovery equipment, don't buy MaxTrax. Buy something else. If, however, you can afford to get MaxTrax and then still have money left over to buy all the other gear that you'll need, then sure, go for MaxTrax. Now, I am on a limited budget, so I went with these ones back here. These are X-Bull traction boards, and they do the job just as well as MaxTrax. The biggest difference between these and MaxTrax is the price. These cost me around $70, where MaxTrax are a little over $300. There are a few other differences as well. In the design, these are much thicker, they don't stack quite as nicely, so they will take up a little more room. Also, when it comes to the durability, these are not quite as good, but the biggest reason these break is because they're just not as flexible as MaxTrax. So if you're going to be using something for bridging, these are not ideal. You will need to double stack them and they will do the job, but MaxTrax tend to bend a lot better than these do, and then they'll reform to their shape better than these do. I've had these for several years and they've held up just fine. I've used them a bunch for recovery, getting out of mud where we're stuck in mud, used them for bridging a couple of times, used them in sand. They do great. Honestly though, 95% of the time I just use them to level my campsite, level my vehicle when I'm at camp. The rest of the time they're strapped to the roof. The biggest argument I see people come up with for getting MaxTrax over getting those is that if you're buying something you're relying on, you want to make sure it's going to be something that doesn't break. And I have two problems with that argument. First of all, MaxTrax do break. Now they are less likely to break, but it still happens. And then the second problem is that you shouldn't be relying on one piece of recovery equipment. If MaxTrax are your only recovery equipment, you're doing it wrong. You need to diversify, you need to get more. So that's, like I said, if you've got the money to spend and get MaxTrax and everything else, then go for it. They are the best. But if you're on a limited budget, get a $70 set of traction boards and use the rest of the money to buy everything else. Like I said at the start, there are some things you can cheap out on, some things you can't. Traction boards are something you can cheap out on. The rest of the equipment I'm going to go over, don't. Buy the proper stuff. Tow straps are for towing people. I've probably used these more than I have my traction boards for recovering other people. These are great for just a gentle pull for someone who's maybe stuck in sand, they're stuck in the mud, or they just need pulling up a hill. Whatever strap you go with, make sure it has a label on it so it shows you the weight rating so you know what it can be used for, what it can't be used for, and also go with the ones with the loops on the end. The ones with the metal hooks pre-attached scare me, so don't pick those. One thing I need to be really clear on is that these are for steady pulls. These are for towing, not snatching, not hugging, just for towing. And I see these used wrong all the time. If you need to use momentum, if you need to get any kind of run up, don't use these. Use what I'm going to talk about next. Kinetic rope or snatch strap. This is what you use if you need momentum. This rope is slightly elasticated and that allows it to stretch up to about 30% when you're pulling with it. So if you're running up, you're getting momentum with your vehicle, that provides you a very smooth transfer of that momentum from the recovery vehicle to the vehicle that's being recovered. If you've ever seen or if you ever experienced someone recovering with a tow strap, you'll know it's a very sudden, sharp jerk. You don't get that with this. So you're a lot less likely to break something and you're a lot more likely to actually get recovered as well. There are a ton of brands you can pick from when it comes to getting kinetic rope or snatch strap. I think Bubba rope's probably one of the best known in the United States. And when it comes to picking a thickness, if you're going to be recovering maybe small vehicles like Jeeps and you maybe get a 3/4 inch rope, 7/8 is a better choice, or even up to a 1 inch if you're going to be recovering larger vehicles like a truck or a fully loaded SUV. A winch is definitely the most expensive piece of recovery equipment you can get. The winch itself is going to be at least several $100s and you don't want to cheap out on it. And then you have to add some kind of mount or bumper to put it on, which could be several $100s more, up to several $1,000s more. It's also very heavy. Not only have you got the weight of the winch, but you got the weight of whatever you're mounting it on too. However, a winch is going to be the most effective way to be recovered. If you are truly stuck, nothing's going to get you out but a winch. I will say that a winch is the last piece of recovery equipment that I added to my vehicle, and I actually only added it a few weeks ago in preparation for some upcoming solo trips. If you're just doing Forest Service roads or gravel roads and you're always with someone else, then you might be able to get away with not having a winch. But if you're going to do more technical trails, especially if you're alone, then a winch is definitely the way to go. With your winch, there are a few more things that are worth picking up. One of them is going to be this. So this is a weighted, kind of like a weighted blanket. This is a winch line damper. This goes over the winch line, and if the winch line were to break or whatever you're winching off breaks, this will help prevent or lessen the chance of it come flying back in your face. You'll also want to get some shackles. So you can get these are soft shackles. These are, they're called D-rings in America, or bow shackles, and they're used for attaching to various accessories or whatever you're recovering. And actually you'll want some of these anyway, because you can use them with the tow strap and with the kinetic rope. This is a pulley block, and this can be worth picking up. This allows you to redirect the winch line, so you can go around something if you're recovering around a corner, or you can use this to recover yourself or recover someone else and send that winch line back to your vehicle where you are winching to give you a mechanical advantage. That way the winch is doing less work. And actually with few of these, I think I only need 2 of them technically, you can also recover yourself backwards. You need 2 and several trees. And then finally, with the winch, it's worth picking up a couple of gloves, some good heavy duty gloves. And something I learned fairly recently is when you get gloves for winching, try and get ones without any kind of strap that's hanging off it, anything that could get caught in the winch line. The final thing to consider is making sure you have a good rated tow point on your vehicle. You want at least 1 in the front and 1 in the back. That way you can be recovered in either direction. It is actually better if you can have 2 in the front and 2 in the back. That way, because what you'll find is if you've just got 1 and it's off to the side, you may end up being pulled off in that direction. If you've got 2 of them, you can connect them together using something like this shorter strap here, and you can be pulled in a straight line. If you found this video useful, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. If you're looking to expand your recovery options, I've put a list of all of this stuff, all the links to it in the description. When you use those links, it helps me out too. Thanks for watching.